YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Rebound, and I am back at it again with another video. So, in today's video, I kind of wanted to talk about a few different things. I wanted to talk about spiritual warfare. I wanted to talk about what it's like to be God's chosen. And this is a topic that I've been seeing a lot lately on YouTube, and I wanted to go ahead and, kind of share my experience and the experience of those of us who are really empaths, the light of the world, right? So ever since our entrance into this world, there was always some type of trauma that we've went through. There was always some type of ostracizing, that we went through. Society has always shunned us. We've always felt like misfits. We've always been the outcast, right? So even in our family dynamics, we never truly fit in the social setting or in the educational system. We had difficulty there, and we were punished for questioning the status quo. We were shamed for not fitting in and being the individuals that we are. However, we've always went against the grain. And I believe that all this boils down to spirituality. And when you examine the Bible, you understand that God knew the end from the beginning. Therefore, he knew those of us who were his children from the very beginning. We just had to wake up to it. And because we're living in, I guess you can say this purgatory, there's a lot of spiritual warfare that those of us who are chosen or empathic, we go through in our lives. And because the abuse is so significant and mainstream, we don't realize it. And this is why when we have our awakening process and we discover things such as narcissistic abuse, there's this paradigm shift, and a lot of us go through symptoms of CPTSD. And this is because the world at which we thought we knew quite well, we didn't really know at all, right? So for those of us who have a Christian worldview, we understand that this world is very Luciferian in nature, right? So that means that the systems that this world has designed or set up are very Luciferian in nature, right? That means that the majority of people on this planet are Luciferian in nature. And this is why we see all the chaos that goes on in the world today. This is why the world chooses to believe in lies. This is why many individuals don't take accountability, and which is why we see narcissism really plaguing society. That truly is the pandemic. The pandemic is a pandemic of narcissism, a pandemic of people who choose to believe in lies, and, we see it when it comes to censorship, right? So for those of us who are chosen or who are truth tellers, who are empathic, we've always got into trouble because of the truth, right? This world doesn't like the truth, and therefore this world does not like us. And so it's very difficult for us to do anything in this world. It's difficult for us to have healthy relationships. It's difficult for us to get promotions on our jobs. It's difficult for us to live in peace, right? And it seems whatever door you leave open, members of the hive, this narcissistic mindset try to come in and traumatize us, try to come in and shame us, try to come in and re-victimize us so that we never wake up to the truth, right? So if you look at this world as a purgatory or being likened to the wilderness, for those of us, who believe in God, we have to go through the wilderness in order to reconnect, right? And this world, it just does so much to break us down. It does so much to scapegoat us, right? So a lot of us have been the black sheeps of our family. A lot of us, have been scapegoated. And because this is done on a societal level, we just accept that character role. And by doing this, we don't really tap into our divinity. We don't tap into our light, our true essence, because we're still holding on to the trauma. And so this is why on the channel, I really speak highly of understanding abuse, understanding evil for what it is, understanding narcissistic traits, examining the family dynamic because it is a microcosm of what we see in society. And, by no means are we anybody's victims, but it's very important to be truthful when it comes to examining this reality so that we understand the abuse that we've went through and that so that we can heal from it, right? So when you understand that, you went through trauma as a child or as an adult, it's important to accept it for what it is. And then from there, you can start doing the work on yourself to heal. And by healing, then you could tap in to your true power. So a lot of us who are chosen, there's something special about us, and society can see it, right? So society will typically mimic us, whether it is what we wear, what we study, what we do, our character hobbies. I've noticed this a lot on social media where individuals will make fake profiles of you. And it's because they see that light in you and they want to imitate it. And because they can't, they go out of their way to try to destroy it, right? And so a lot of us who have gone through things such as narcissistic abuse, we know all too well how this society wants to destroy us, right? So if the society can get away with killing us, they will. Unfortunately, a lot of us who are chosen are unaware of the true reality that we live in and are unaware of the concept of spiritual warfare and how the devil uses his children, or the tares that the Bible speaks of, the NPCs, the organic portals, to really take us down. And because we come from love, we don't necessarily understand how evil operates, which is why I created this channel. So it is very important to understand the characteristics of evil so that you can understand the characteristics of the society that we live in. And once again, once you do that and you do the work on yourself, you can empower yourself to be the light of the world. So a lot of us who are born here, I believe God has us here for a specific reason, right? There's something that we're supposed to do in our lives to better humanity, right? In the midst of all this chaos going on, right? So the Lord will give us peace. And just by emulating our true nature, and tapping into the essence of who we truly are, then society can see that God truly does exist, right? And once again, for those of us who are chosen, our life is just a struggle. It's a complete mess. And a lot of the abuse that is inflicted on us, once again, it starts from early childhood. So going back to my personal story, once I got here, my biological parents could see something was different about me. And so they gave me up to the foster care system. With, going through the foster care system, I was moved from home to home. And I was finally adopted by a highly narcissistic family who had been trying to get their hands on me ever since I was born. And once again, this goes back to spiritual warfare. So I liken the narcissist to being demonically influenced or demonically oppressed or possessed, or, simply the tares that the Bible speaks of. And the goal is to destroy God's children. And so this is why a lot of us who have a really strong relationship with God, this is why we go through continuous abuse. And because we don't understand that this is warfare, we continue to go through the cycle of abuse over and over again. And so one of the ways that the enemy is successful with taking us down is by trauma and by using the element of fear to keep us in this frightened state so that we never seek the truth. And so even with this crisis going on now, the reason why it's been successful is because society doesn't have a strong relationship with God. And because of that, society is fearful of being, fearful of dying, I guess you can say. And because trauma has been pacified, or narcissism has been pacified, society is very comfortable with being ritualistically and systematically abused over time, right? So when we look at all these various institutions, there's some type of cult-ish behavior or some type of ritual systematic abuse that the individual has to go through in order to, I guess you could say, fall into place. So let's use the medical field for an example. Let's just say I wanted to become a doctor. You go through all this stress to get really good grades in high school, and then you get to college, you major maybe in something like biology, and you get really good grades and you get into a medical program. And then for those who don't get into a medical program, sometimes they go off and get a master's degree in a subject close to medicine, and then apply to a medical program. They go through 4 more years of education, and then they have to do their residency. And then after, for about maybe, I don't know, 2 to 3 years, and then they specialize, right? So they put in so much time and effort to go after this degree. And during that process, they get broken down. They go through this hazing process in the medical industry, and they take on high amounts of debt. And once they start working, if they ever question, the foundation of what they're practicing, then they're ostracized, they're labeled, they're smeared. And the collective, or the hive, I like to call them, will go out of their way to destroy these individuals. And this works all in other factors in society as well, where once again, society will build you up just to break you down. And if you don't submit to the hive or to this cult-like mentality, then you will be destroyed because of it. And the system knows right away, for those of us who are chosen, that we are different. So a lot of us, right away, we recall things such as slow, or having developmental delays. A lot of us have been thrown into special education. A lot of us, just really had a hard time when it came to, academia in childhood, because society was trying to brainwash us and to try to prove to us that something was wrong with us so that we don't tap into our true abilities, right? So a lot of individuals who have been victims of narcissistic abuse are highly intelligent, highly intuitive, very knowledgeable, very empathic, very compassionate, very creative. And society always has tried to keep us away from discovering these true gifts, right? Because these gifts can help us heal humanity. And because, once again, we live in a Luciferian world, the devil is doing everything in his power to keep the globe from healing, right? And this is what we go through. And once again, this is the warfare, right? So a lot of us will liken spiritual warfare to just the spiritual, but what happens in the physical also happens in the spiritual. And so for those of you who have gone through this type of abuse, let's just say narcissistic abuse or sexual abuse, or who had a parent who was a drug addict or an alcoholic, right? The reason why we see such a rise in this type of abuse is because we live in a society that has been highly traumatized. We live in a society that rejects God, that rejects his word. And as an example of that, this is why we see, all the problems going on with the world. And because society will not accept God, the world will never find true solutions, will never have long-term solutions. And to the victims of this type of abuse, my heart is with you. And I guess the goal of the video is to really allow those of us who have been abused to try to lay the foundations of why we were abused, of why, it just seemed like life never worked out for us, right? And it's because we're not of this world, right? Once again, this is a Luciferian system. And because we're not of this world, society ostracizes us. But once again, it's very important to acknowledge what you have gone through. It's important not to gaslight yourself. And it's important to do the work on yourself first, right? So that you can be a healer to the rest of the world, right? So once again, being a child of God, being chosen, right? Being called up out of this world is truly a blessing. And we have to acknowledge that we are different and that we do have these gifts so that we can make the world a better place. So that's going to be all for this video. If you like it, I ask that you subscribe to the channel or you hit the like button, and I will talk to you all next time. Take care and have a great one. Bye.